Discover how you can green your life by building a knowledge base of current sustainable and eco-savvy trends. This series will delve into hot topics, current standards and practices, ways to design better spaces, and specify materials that benefit not only us as consumers, but the world as a whole. Members of CaraGreen, as sustainable materials distributors, and other industry leaders weigh in throughout the series. This is Build Green, Live Green.
Hi, this is Jessica with Build Green, Live Green, CaraGreen's podcast on sustainability issues in the built environment. Today we have one of our manufacturing partners, Florian with Organoids. Welcome, Florian.
Hi, Jessica. Thanks for having me here today.
We're happy to have you. Organoid is one of our favorite products. You guys are such a direct translation of biophilic design and nature in a space, and we just love your materials. So can you talk a little bit about Organoid, when you were founded, where you're headquartered, and kind of what the company's mission is?
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Organoid has been founded in a barn almost more than 10 years ago in 2012. Right at the beginning, Organoid was busy experimenting with organic shapes and creating all natural and sturdy elements. Eventually, demands were popping up to slightly change this approach and to set the focus on decorative elements for the interiors. And this was basically the start of Organoid Natural Surfaces, just as you know it today. So even though the paths have slightly changed, the ultimate goal has always been the same. We want to do something meaningful, sustainable for people, and connect what belongs together, which is humans and nature. So this has always been our biggest drive, and this is also anchored within our company's philosophy.
That's fantastic. And you're located in Austria?
We are located in Austria, actually right in the most western part of Austria, in Tyrol. We are based right in the heart of the Alps, so we have plenty of nice mountains right at our backyard.
Very nice. Well, we're looking forward to coming visit, as you know. Well, can you talk? Being in the Alps, you're kind of in these, you're situated in these fields, and that's kind of part of the connection to the company, right? So, can you talk about the materials and how they're used applications?
Yeah, we're using rapidly regrowing natural raw materials such as alpine hay, diverse petals and blossoms, moss or leaves, and we press them on various backing materials. Final surfaces are mainly used as an ecological wallpaper or as a biolaminate, and on top of that we have great acoustic absorbers and we even do flooring.
So basically you've got these rolled sheet goods with natural elements on them. Like you have moss wallpaper, real hay wallpaper, rose petals, lavender, cornflower, all laid up on these beautiful, sheet goods, or sheet goods that can be used for paneling. So like behind you, what is the material behind you? What's the backer and what is the natural element?
Well, behind myself, there's actually quite a new surface we do. That is the Wildspitze Light. Wildspitze is basically the name of the surface itself, which is also the highest mountain of our area here. And it's also the place where we are harvesting the hay from. So talking about the hay itself, we try to process everything that nature gives us. And the hay comes from 18 farmers that we work with. They are harvesting the hay at a certain altitude, and there are various reasons for that. So first of all, we have short delivery routes. We try to work as sustainable as it can be. The farthest meadow is in a distance of 15 kilometers away from our factory. And on top of that, there are some additional reasons why we want to work with that particular hay. It comes from a certain altitude, so there is the fatigude of proteins slightly different than down here in the valley. So we get the robust and constant fibers we need for our production. In parallel to that, we do our parts and bits to make sure these meadows are still being cultivated.
Okay. So then, but to the other side of you is the lampshade. What is that material?
Yeah, here you can see as how creative our customers can be. So we do have some partners doing lampshades. We do have partners using our surfaces for frames of glasses or for sunshades. So there are a wide field of different applications for our surfaces.
And is that the wild
That
space?
will be the autumn season, so it's the alpine hay, which gets combined with various different petals and blossoms. So here we're going to use heather, we have cornflowers in there with red rose petals, we have sunflower petals, and also the flagship natural raw material we use, and the one we are known for, which is the daisy.
So you can get it either that really kind of dense or material, or the light, which is what's behind you, right? Where you just don't, you use less organic material across the face of the roll.
Exactly. That's what we do. We do have our so-called premium surfaces, and basically the characteristic of that surface is the fact that we're using a high raw material coverage. So the backing material is not visible, whereas with the light versions, the backing material is part of the visual appearance itself.
And what is the backing material typically?
So here we're using, or the most common backing material we use is natural flax fleece, which you probably know as linen. And Jessica, you're probably the same. In summer, you are wearing your linen trousers. And the reason why you do it is because the material itself is preferable. And so it's also our backing material. So it's not only biodegradable, but also preferable. That means rooms can breathe.
Okay. And then that linen kind of flax is actually kind of a almost like a light brown.
Yeah, it comes with that natural brown because it doesn't get colored or bleached in any way.
Okay, and then what about some of your materials do have a white backer, and what is that?
Yeah, we also do have surfaces which are coming with white backer, which is our so-called eco fleece. That material is made of recycled textile and cellulose fibers.
Okay. So healthy natural materials on these very natural backers, and rolled goods that you could, you apply like wallpaper. So you guys have some great videos on your website that show how easily these materials are applied. And we've had some really interesting applications here in the US. We had one lady make a bed frame out of the alpine hay because she wanted to feel like she was sleeping in a meadow. And we have a lot of retail customers try to incorporate Organoid because they're trying to bring, nature into the space. And if you're walking around New York City, it's kind of nice to walk into a store that has, these natural elements because you don't get a lot of that in the outside. So we have a lot of interest in your product just to, like I said, bring nature into a space and create a more comfortable environment for people.
Yeah,
and of course,
correct. Basically, our surfaces are being characterized by the fact that they do not only look, but even smell and feel just like the initially used raw material. And that is exactly what our customers normally appreciate and value.
Yeah, I think people are so used to, in the design world and in the interior environment, it's so visually focused, but your products are so interesting, and then they're tactile, visual, and you can smell. So it truly is an experience working with Organoid surfaces.
Correct. So we basically deliver our surfaces as natural as they can be. We do not seal them in any way. They're just all natural. So our customers can not only benefit from the natural looks of the surface, but also from the tactile and also from the scent of the surfaces.
And also, can you talk a little bit about the binder? Because a lot of people have questions about that, and I know it's not. I don't want the ingredient list, but can you talk about kind of what that's comprised of?
Well, that is basically a question we're getting asked on a very regular basis, and that is also one of the secrets of our success. So I'm not happy to tell you to share the ingredients list, but I can tell you it is an ecological binding agent. It is. It is food safe. You could actually food it, but it is important to mention that we are not processing any food.
Right. God, that makes sense. So obviously, there's this kind of human element in the interaction, and that is kind of the latest shift in sustainability in general is kind of occupant health in buildings and things like that. So a lot of designs are being tailored to, make the occupants as healthy as possible, and that's viewed as sustainable. What sustainability initiatives do you guys have? I mean, I know Europe is so much more advanced than we are over here, but kind of from a carbon footprint or an energy water standpoint, how are your operations sustainable beyond just using the natural materials?
Well, I mean, in addition to our local material sourcing, we do follow a zero waste strategy. We produce climate neutrally here in our factory. We've just electrified our fleet. We're using green energy to energize our building here. So there are a few initiatives going on in that regard.
Right. And then, of course, all your materials are natural, so they're naturally a carbon sink, right?
100%. So, I mean, I keep on saying we do not only produce in a climate neutral way, but if you keep in mind that the hay is still binding some CO2, right, I would say we're even a climate positive company.
Yeah. I agree. And then you just mentioned something about the hay. Oh, okay. So we've talked about hay too. The other question I get asked a lot is about allergies. But you've had the materials tested, correct?
Well, I do suffer hay fever. In our production, the day they're producing the hay, I would have an itchy nose right immediately. But because of our careful production process and how we produce the surfaces, we can make sure that the surface itself is anti-allergen once it leaves our factory. So I do it in my office. I won't have any problem at all. Yep. That has been proven not only in my office, but in hundreds of hotel rooms we did in the last couple of months. And in theory, also in terms of certificates we do.
Okay. And then some of the other materials, I mean, I know the hay is from, these specific fields, local and stuff. What about the other materials? Are those all generally post-industrial as well?
Well, basically not all of them, but a big part of the surface of the raw materials we process and the surface or the materials we cannot source locally here in our area, they are being leftovers from various different industries. So leftovers which would alternatively get burnt or disposed, that is what we upcycle, bring back to life and make something beautiful out of it.
Okay. And then as far as customization, because you've done some really neat projects where you've used some bio-based goods from the project site you've made them sheet goods that connect them to kind of the location where I think it was a hotel, and it was some of the material that was native to that area. They were able to create Organoid panels.
I guess you're referring to a project we did in Switzerland last year. That was not a hotel, it was a restaurant.
Yeah. Okay.
The restaurant owner, I mean, I really like this project because they did not only use the whole variety of the products we offer. They did the flooring, they did acoustic absorbers, they did wallpapers. Everything has been incorporated in this project. But the fact why I really liked that project was the idea behind and what the architect and the interior designer wanted to achieve. So the owner, Mark, he basically wanted to implement his personal values, his personal ideas, things he is standing for, not only into his cuisine, but also into the design of his restaurant itself. So he wanted to be humble, he wanted to be local, he wanted to be down to earth and using natural elements. And eventually they sent us their own hay. We made the surfaces out of it and they got it returned to Switzerland.
That's fantastic. And when we post this, we'll include photos of that, if that's okay, because it was really a beautiful project.
Yes, please do so. I can also send you a case study, which I created a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, another project, I mean, we were also talking, again, it was in Swiss, we were talking to, we were approached by a big chocolate manufacturer, probably the biggest one all across the globe. And he wanted us to make a floor using his leftovers from chocolate industry, the cocoa beans, and we did the flooring.
That's fantastic. I'd love to see photos of that too.
Yeah, we do have it also in our lookbook already. So if you open page, probably page 60 or something, you can see the floor.
So, okay, so you mentioned the flooring and the hotel, and those are using kind of some, those are two custom applications. What are some of your other favorite applications that are really just a unique way of using organoid material to create something?
Well, that's a tricky question. I think I have to say I do not really have a favorite project or favorite application. Thinking about it, the projects I like most are the ones I randomly spot somewhere on Instagram or on social media, and just seeing our customers expressing the joy they have with our surfaces. So those are the little things that make me happy.
That's great. Yeah, it's always nice. You don't realize what you don't know until you see it on Instagram, and usually it's a beautiful photo. So when you come across those, it's very inspiring. So we like to see those too. Okay, so with Organoid, and we have it here in the U.S. First, can we just tell everyone what your website is?
Yeah, our website is www.organoids.com.
Okay, yeah. So Organoid. So Organoids. And I go back and forth between saying organoid and organoids when I'm talking about the website or not. Yeah. So what are the biggest challenges that you have? Because this is a unique product and you can liken it to wallpaper, but if someone's trying to compare it to, basic wallpaper, you're comparing apples and oranges, because this is really, really a unique experiential product versus, just something visual. So what challenges do you run into when, kind of promoting the brand?
Well, there are a few challenges, and talking about them in general, I have to say we do receive fantastic feedback on our surfaces, but as they are that unique and innovative, and as they are new to most of our customers, it sometimes is a challenge to convince people that they can apply just like any conventional wallpaper, just like any conventional laminate. Also, we have to inspire them, share projects we did, so people just get a better idea of how Organoid can be used. And to do so, we have just launched this new lookbook, just to get them an idea what they can do with our surfaces or what has been done already.
Yep. The lookbook's fantastic, and we're sending that out to our A&D.
Yeah, it is also available on our website, so you can just download it from there.
The last thing I want to ask you about is what new initiatives do you have, whether it's new materials that you're going to be introducing. The lookbook obviously is a big initiative. The case studies are an initiative, but is there anything else specific that you guys are doing?
As you know already, Jessica, we just launched new acoustic absorbers, which you can just apply or install like any ordinary picture. And one thing that you probably don't know yet, in May, we are going to launch a total of 5 new surfaces. This basically includes a vibrant new moss surface. We have skeleton leaves on a noble golden backing, and a total of 3 surfaces with a reduced coverage of raw materials. So again, just like the light wallpaper, which you can see behind myself.
Will they be called the Light Collection?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
is the new moss the one that you sent me?
It is basically a mixed moss version. So it is
I really like
the bright and dark green moss. And because of that mix, we just end up having a very vibrant surface.
Yeah.
And moss, by the way, is again an upcycled product. So they are leftovers from these bushy moss wall productions, as you probably know as well.
Yep.
And talk about this.
Yeah, the moss, and that's nice because a lot of those moss wall installations are beautiful, but they can't really handle any sort of, interaction, right? Because they're sensitive. But your product, it's encapsulated.
I have to admit, I love those kind of bushy moss walls. And they are facing a similar challenge as we do with our surfaces. People are just getting attracted by the surface. They want to touch it. They want to smell it. They just want to interact with the surface.
Yep.
And with that kind of walls, you end up having, as the more people are touching them, the more bold and dark spots you're going to have on that surface. So you have some kind of maintenance and things like that. And what we basically do is using that kind of waste from moss wall production, upcycle them, bring them back to life, make something nice out of it, which is eventually also super abrasion resistant.
Yep. Yeah. So in that, you brought up an interesting word, which is another question that I'm going to throw out here as we wind this up. Maintenance. So what do I do? What if I need to clean my wall? What is the recommended way to clean it?
How do you clean your walls at the moment?
I don't. I'm waiting till my kids get old enough to stop touching.
No, basically you can clean our wallpapers just like any ordinary wallpaper. Use a cloth, you can vacuum it, you can just clean it. Just please don't jet spray them.
Yeah.
And
Don't use any harsh cleaners on it.
Yeah. And also, I mean, talking about maintenance, you just have to keep in mind our surfaces, they're way less sensitive than any white wall or any ordinary wallpaper, as potential stains are just not that visible.
Yep. And it's it's worth letting our listeners know, if you want samples, just reach out to CaraGreen.com and you can play with them yourselves. We've all had phone cases made with organoid surfaces, and we've put them through some pretty heavy wear and tear, and they hold up remarkably well. So Florian, any other new initiatives you want to talk about, or you want to wrap this up?
Well, I mean, basically what is also important to us, we are working now on a whole bunch of new certificates. So by the end of the year, we will also want to come up with HPD and or EPD certificates. Yep. So that is in the pipeline at the moment. Also might be interesting just to inform that we are just about to double our production size and also implement new technologies within both our production process and also product features.
Great. Yeah, and the nice thing about Organoid is that you can get the rolls are 1.36 meters wide, so it's about 4.4 feet or something. But you can get as any length, so there's no real minimums when it comes to sizes and stuff like that. So whether it's a small project or a large one, you have a lot of flexibility in those wide widths, and it's just a really neat material to kind of bring, the outside in. And I think my favorite two are the moss and the blue cornflower. I just think they're so beautiful, and there's just nothing like them. And also, there are options for the material to come on a translucent self-adhesive, so you can actually, it's clear, so you can see through it as well.
Yeah, just if you want to increase privacy in an open space office, you can combine increasing privacy with bringing nature indoors.
Yep. So beautiful product. We absolutely love it. And Florian with Organoid, thank you so much for being on Build Green, Live Green.
Thank you, Jessica.